You're listening to India Bio Speaks, your one-stop resource for science, news and careers. Dear listeners, in this part 2 of a special episode addressing mental health in academia, India Bio Speaks revisits excerpts from a discussion that happened on September 11, 2020. This discussion addressed issues around mental health, particularly those that are relevant to PhD students and postdocs. In this segment, panelists Shubha, Tole and Soumitra, Pathare and moderators Karishma, Kaushik and Mayuri, Rege talk about managing mental health. Enjoy listening.
Big issues that came up were, I don't think people will understand that there is a lack of awareness, there is a lack of empathy, and at workplace, I'm very concerned about confidentiality, privacy. It will destroy my career. So Dr. Pathare, we'll start with you. If there is a PhD student or postdoc right now, maybe listening to us, who says, I admit I need mental help, or acknowledges this, how do they go about it with all these prevailing fears?
Right. I mean, the simplest, I'll give you graded responses to that. One of the simplest things maybe you want to do is talk to some friends or peers. Now, if you feel, well, I don't have any friends or peers I can talk to confidentially at all, then clearly there are a lot of helplines. Okay, there are a lot of helplines like iCall, which runs out of TISS, runs a great helpline. It's free. And you can call. They also have a separate paid service, which is at a nominal fee for ongoing therapist consultations and all, but they're otherwise free. They're open, I think 16 hours of the day, not 24. But that's where you can call. And the third thing is, if you feel, well, even that is not helping and I need something else, then find a professional and go and talk to them. You know, there is nothing to be ashamed about. I have, because I'm in Pune and Pune is full of a lot of students, especially from the science stream. I get a lot of people come and consult. Increasingly, I'm actually positively and happily surprised with how much people who are postdocs or doing their PhDs are willing to go and see a professional and take help, which even 5 or 10 years ago was not happening. They're still worried about confidentiality and issues like that, but they're happy to come and talk and feel comfortable about it. And to me, it seems like, this is my reading, I might be completely wrong, but there is some kind of a grapevine. Okay, there is a grapevine among the student community where professionals are categorized as, you can go to this one, you shouldn't go to that one. So, you know, the grapevine seems to be very effective, because I have some, for example, I have some friends in obstetrics and gynecology, and they know they have a reputation. Some of them have a reputation. Oh, you can go to her. She will not get fazed by anything. She'll be fine. You want anything that goes with her, and don't go to her at all, because she will completely give you a lecture on morality. So, you know, clearly there are student communities have all of this knowledge, and it's good to kind of tap into that and find out who to go to. But basically a stepwise thing. Talk to friends and family or peers. That doesn't work, talk to the anonymous helplines. If that is not good enough for you, talk to the professional. I think really that is it. And you know, it's 2020. Stop kind of living with this. There is a lot of help available, and take it. It's going to help you in the long run. You know?
No, there are several questions along the lines of what to do when I'm beginning and I don't know anything and I make lots of mistakes and I feel I can't manage my time. There are lots of questions in this space. You know, none of us ever forget what it's like to be raw and new. And so my first answer is, you're normal. Okay, nobody's born knowing this stuff. If you were born knowing how to do experiments, I mean, really, could you donate your brain to science? I would love to see how you know that. All of us learn, right? All of us. We're trying to do something very difficult. We're trying to do something hard. Okay, recognize it's hard. I mean, when you learned anything as a child, hey, riding a bike, making your first Lego set, how many times it broke and fell, and how many times you cried, and daddy or mommy wiped your tears, right? I mean, nobody knows things at the beginning. Okay, you have to learn. How do you deal with mistakes and fear of making mistakes? Don't fear them, make them. Okay, mistakes are the only way you'll learn, and you have to learn from other people's mistakes too. So the way I say it at lab meetings, let's only make new mistakes. Mistakes are fine, but don't repeat the old ones. Learn from them. When you make a mistake, discuss it at lab meetings. See, I did this. Oh my God, I wasn't thinking. I stored the brain in PBS instead of fixative, and PBS was for immuno, and fixative was for in situ, and the signal died. Oh my God, what a fool I was. But then other people should, you can only invent new mistakes. So if you do, okay, so that's space.
Make better mistakes. Okay, I think, thank you, Shubha, and thank you, Soumitra, for that. I think we'll move on to the next subtopic in this. So the other main thing that gives people a lot of stress is the uncertainty about their future. And this is a natural one, again, that many of us face. So a few of the points within this topic are: what happens if I don't succeed in my PhD? How do I prepare myself for alternative careers? And the concern that a transition is not equal to failure, it's not really quitting.
All of us have studied exponential growth, right? Bacteria, whatnot. The simple logic, if every single student of a PI is going to become another PI, there won't be any space on the earth. It's not normal for this to be the default track. If science is for half-mad people at the student joining stage, being a PI is for slightly people who are really, truly, out there on the space of, look at us. We, are live and breathe science. We, we work for the pure pleasure of it. We don't have a boss and we still work our tails off. It's a very odd species, being a PI. Okay. It's not a normal job by any stretch of imagination. And it's okay to not define yourself by those parameters. No, you should do science only if that's how your training shapes you to be and you're happy to do it. Otherwise, you use that training and do something else that makes you a productive, fulfilled human being. The goal of doing a PhD is not to become a scientist. The goal of doing a PhD is to train your mind in how to think and how to solve problems. And those skills you apply to anything. So the goal is just defined wrongly. It's justified. It's not tenable.
Absolutely. Yes, that was great.
Beautiful.
Soumitra, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I just feel that, there are a lot of questions here also saying that I want to quit and I've quit a few times and should I quit and all. Like, my answer is very simple. Do it because you love it and you like it, and it's something that you will be happy and enjoy doing it for the next 20, 30 years of your professional life. If that is not how it is, and if you don't enjoy it, if it is now becoming a pain and, you get up in the morning thinking, oh my God, do I have to go to that lab again? Then probably you need to really think what you're doing there and why are you there? Because you're not going to be creative, you're not going to be productive, you're not going to be doing anything worthwhile if you're unhappy. If you're not happy doing that, then get out. You don't have to. And at the end of the day, in fact, a career in science is not always the most profitable career in the world anyway. None of us retire.
Not in it for the money. Yeah.
Exactly. So you got nothing much to lose if you quit science. But if you don't enjoy doing it, you don't like it, you're not happy with it, get out. This is not a good place to be. There are hundreds and thousands of careers that you can choose from. I think primarily do what you enjoy doing. If you don't enjoy doing it, you'll not be able to sustain the motivation. You'll not be able to sustain doing a good job of it. So, and that is not failure. I don't think that is failure. It's absolutely okay. I gave you my example. There is a time when you think, look, I want to get out. This is not for me. I can't hack this. And then you might come back to it again. Who knows? When I got out, I didn't get out thinking I'll come back to this 20 years later. That's not what I did. But you might at some stage come back to it. And I think you need to allow yourself the freedom to not follow a set script. I think the worry is people have a script in their head of what is going to happen when. And then they get very perturbed because the life does not follow that script. I think we should let life flow and allow allow yourself to be led a little bit like life, then rather than to just go with the script. I really, really do think that. So widening exposure is part of that. Go off and do something else, maybe. Like people ask me, what do you want to do now? Like I keep on frequently threatening my team. I'm going to quit because, one of the most unfulfilled dreams that I have is to be a cheesemaker. I want to be a cheesemaker. My wife tells me I make great cheese. She says sometimes, like, get out. Why don't you start making cheese? You'd love it. And honestly, one of these days I will do it. But there's no harm in doing these things. Just explore, widen your exposure, do different things. You'll be happier.
Exactly. I think if you're seeing that it's not going anywhere, already start laying the ground to move on.
There is a question saying that either of you can answer first. I worked in a toxic environment with a lab and a PI. It had an adverse effect on my psychological health and success of my career. How do I get over this? How do I go about? It's like, I don't know, a layman can call it anything, but how do you get over such an episode?
So if I can take this first, I would say, unfortunately, you're not alone. If you actually did a survey of all possible PhDs and how they would describe their lab environments, I fear you're not going to find too many on the wonderful, happy end of the spectrum. Okay, I hope we won't find way too many on the toxic, awful, harmful end of the spectrum either. But if you have gotten through it somehow, I would say, we have one life, one timeline. Whatever has happened to you in the past, it's now in the past, and now you have to deal with its effects on your future. So how much are you going to let it affect your future? Unless you have an advisor who is going to continue to damage your prospects. Okay, I have heard cases like this. I have heard cases of advisors who continue to write bad letters or inadequate, letters to shaft the person's career. So unless there are far-reaching effects, if what has happened in the past has happened in the past, I know it sounds a little superhuman to ask of you, but how much you let it affect your future is really up to you and in your control. I mean, it's not possible to just take that module out of your brain and put in a new one. But if you are away from that situation now, I would say talk to people who have had different experiences and recognize that the world doesn't have to be that way. Yes, too bad it happened to you and too bad your world was like that, but other worlds are different. And you have the right to start over and you have the right to, have had a better experience in the past, but certainly you have the right to a better experience in the future. So if you talk to enough people, your confidence in humanity may get a little bit restored, and that will give you the mechanics, the basics of how to set up so the past doesn't affect the future as badly as it otherwise might have. This is the best I can do. Soumitra.
Yeah. Thank you. If there's nothing more, we can move on to the next question. This is, I think, also a combined question from multiple people who have mental health issues but don't have the resources at the institution where they are, where they don't have any institutional support, they can't afford it on their own. What can be done about this? Is there a way to subsidize such care formally? Dr. Soumitra? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, a few things. Like I said, for example, if you needed counseling, then iCall will allow you very subsidized, low-cost counseling with very properly trained clinical psychologists, okay? And they will do that online for you at very, very subsidized rates, apart from having their free service, which they have. So that's one place you can get subsidized service. The other place you can get subsidized service, and I know people will kind of smirk at it, but if you are in places like Mumbai or Pune, there are public hospitals, large public hospitals where both psychologists as well as psychiatrists are available and where the treatment will be free for you. So that's another avenue for subsidized care that you can get. And the third place is obviously a lot of private practitioners in the city. If you explain to them your personal circumstances, will, many of them I know will probably use like a sliding scale of charges. They'll say, oh, if we'll charge you less because you're unaffording or something like that. So those are options that are easily available. Somebody had also said, what about medicines? They're expensive. Places like the public hospitals will give out free medicines. If you're really in a difficult situation, that is available. And I don't think you should look down upon having to go to a public hospital to get that kind of care. And especially in places like Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore or even Chennai, the big cities, public hospitals are in good shape. In Mumbai, for example, the Bombay Municipal Corporation's hospitals have a great psychological service that they provide. So you should actually try and go and get help there.
The next question is a bunch of questions. Dr. Pathare, you must be dealing with this on an everyday basis, given your profession. How does one approach the taboo associated with mental health in India and in science in India? How does one go about doing this without having to expose oneself, feel judged?
See, this is, I'll tell you what, this is a bit of a chicken and egg thing. You will not get rid of the taboo unless people speak up and publicly identify themselves. We got rid of the taboo on HIV and AIDS is because people who are living with HIV and AIDS came out and started speaking on it. And then people say, well, but if I speak about it, the taboo will hit me. So, unless you speak up, the taboo will not go, and somebody else is not going to get the taboo away for you. So if you are comfortable, if you are in a position where you have some degree of privilege, then use that privilege and speak up about mental health. That is what will reduce the taboo. There's no other way to reduce the taboo. When you have famous actors and actresses talk about it publicly, the idea is that it helps to reduce taboo. That's the whole idea behind it. And so I would really strongly encourage you that if you worry about taboo, then speak up. Because if you don't speak up, then you're actually perpetuating the taboo. You are not only buying into the taboo, but you're perpetuating it and making it worse. So I think it's extremely important that we all try to do that. I'm not trying to force anyone into it, but I'm saying it is something that you should consider at some stage to be public and speak up about it. Because the more you normalize the conversation on mental health, it makes it easy for you and makes it easy for everybody else. Rather than to keep it under the wraps. And we've been through this with other things. There was a time when talking about HIV AIDS was not something people spoke publicly. Now people do. Even normal things are still taboo. Talking about menstruation in our science institutions is still a problem. People will not talk about it. That's normal. That's not even an illness, for heaven's sake. But we don't talk about these things. So I think the more we talk about these things, I think we'll normalize conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, that was normalize it. I think the next question is for Shubha. So we talked about the power dynamic and treating people respectfully, yet professionally and courteously. So how to actually deal with the power dynamic, I think, at the society level and at the individual level? The imbalance between the PI and the student.
I think the PI has to recognize and be aware that no matter what, there is a power imbalance. Okay, the PI is the one that signs the degree. At the end of the day, that is that, right? So being aware of it all the time is the key to not misusing it. I mean, eventually, any training requires an evaluation. So somebody who is sitting on the evaluation committee claim to be on an equal footing with somebody who's being evaluated. I mean, it's ridiculous. This has sort of, how do you say it? This has amplified damaging effects on the student who thinks from their own background of training that, if they don't please the PI in this, that, or the other, the PI will be angry at them and therefore evaluate them negatively. So there are lots of ramifications of this basic power differential. There is a power differential. The PI, the thesis committee, the faculty are going to evaluate you. There's a comprehensive exam. The PI is supposed to train you. The PI is supposed to point out what experiments could have been done better or what controls, needed to, you missed one or two. The PI is going to sign your thesis. So all of this is a power imbalance. It exists. The ramifications of it and the misuse of it are the problem. So we're not going to make the power differential go away. It is present. A PhD is not an equal enterprise where it's not a PhD is not a team sport where everybody's it's not a
clear, constant communication, like a dialogue might be.
But also internal realization that this exists, and within this framework, we have to be professional. I mean, there's a power differential in the world, right? I mean, in the corporate world, you have somebody you report to. Of course, they're in a position of power over you. So that person has to be extremely careful not to misuse or abuse that power. But one cannot wring one's hands at it. It's a necessary part of the training. It's not a badminton doubles game where two people are on a team. I often that I am on your team. I'm supposed to help you get through this. So I'm the coach in some sense.
No, that's good. I think so. Accept that there's going to be a power imbalance, but make sure that you're not exploited. I think that's what the message is here.
So listeners, thank you for listening, and we hope you found this useful. We would love to hear your feedback, comments, thoughts, and ideas. So please do comment, share, and subscribe to India Bio Speaks. Please also check out several curated resources on mental health on the India Bioscience website. You will find a link to these on the description section of this podcast. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, stay healthy, and see you soon. If you're passionate about scientific research, communication, outreach, and science education as we are, please connect and engage with us, and here are some ways that you can do so.
Visit our website at www.indiabioscience.org.
Subscribe to our newsletters.
Write for us and join our online discussion forum at discuss.indiabioscience.org.
Advertise jobs, grants and events in the life sciences on our website.
And feel free to contact us anytime at hello@indiabioscience.org.
Until next time, enjoy your science and stay engaged to enable change.